Wonderful.
Hey there,
Can
how
you
you
hear me?
doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Outstanding. Brian sent me the videos over the weekend from the Toys for Tots with them and the caddy. That was super cool.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that neat? Yeah.
Yep.
That was great.
Scott, they have this old Cadillac. I'm not even sure what year it is. Maybe Dick knows. Convertible.
Yeah.
And the Mary Jean and her husband were wearing Santa hats with the top down and a bunch of toys in the back that they were delivering to Toys for Tots the last day of our BPW a couple weeks ago.
Well, that's good. It gets a lot of excitement going. So
Exactly.
Yeah. And it was a pink Cadillac.
I bet it was a 1977.
I think it is. Yep, I think it is.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You know why I said that? Because that's the year my mother had. That's the only reason. I had no logic behind
Oh, really?
it. You're like, how did this guy?
Well, we just said yes to make you feel good because we have no idea either. So.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're right. It made me feel good for just about a second until I told you my logic.
Well, good.
All right. So who do we have on the call?
Well, I think Mary Jean was calling in. She was watching Kelly's kids this morning. But I also have sitting here our call center manager, Mark.
Okay.
And then also our plumbing service manager, Gary.
Okay. What about HVAC manager? Because this was going to be a call over HVAC maximum capacity today, unless you wanted to do plumbing.
Well, can we do plumbing? Is Chris available down there? Well, George isn't though.
We can do plumbing. It's just when I sent something to Jody for her to look at, and I think you'll get your biggest pickup in the HVAC. So if we rolled that model out first and then maybe wrapped around back to plumbing.
Okay. Let me see if we can grab Chris real quick. We'll bring him up.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No problem. I don't think it'd be a good thing to try them both at once. So.
Yeah, I would just. I saw you at the super meeting, and when you did your presentation, you did it on plumbing.
Yes, sir. Well, that's because.
Oh, that's where the confusion is. Okay.
Well, and I'm originally a plumber first. That's where my passion lies. So that's why I talked about plumbing. But y'all will get your biggest pickup in HVAC by far.
Okay.
And then, so maybe while we're waiting, Dick, Scott was asking me before you came on the call about Thursday's call with the technicians.
Right.
How many designated turn techs do you guys have?
Designated turn techs?
Yeah, that are, because I know you have a lot of newbies that are doing primarily maintenance and things.
Right. Well, we have, hang on a second. Let me look here a minute. Grab my.
He's just on the call right now.
Okay, Chris will be up in just a second.
All right, thank you.
I've got it right. Let's see.
I just want to say good morning. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late.
Good morning, Mary Jean.
Good morning.
I think I would say probably that it's all of them except for the two, Dick, that can turn over.
Yeah, I mean the maintenance techs will turn, but if you're taking maintenance techs out of it, we have 5 maintenance techs, so the rest of them. So you're looking at 17. We have 22 total.
Okay. Now that's fine. I was just curious if you already had designated turnover techs, because as we get into this, I'm going to talk a little bit about staffing and a way to make sure we're staffed properly by a bunch of percentages. So I was just curious.
Okay. Okay, cool.
So while we're waiting on Chris, Mark, how long have you been at the company, and how long have you been in your current position?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Hey, glad you're here.
Gonna get him started off right.
That's right.
Yeah, and he's doing a great job.
Good.
He's got people really fired up down there.
How many CSRs do we have?
14. One's out on maternity leave right now, so about 13.
Okay.
We're looking to hire some more.
And dispatchers?
We have five.
5.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you want the dispatch manager on the call too?
No, that's okay. As long as we have the call center manager and service manager, be fine. But this is mainly the call center call. I just want the service manager to be able to see what we're going to go through on the HVAC side, and this way, and anybody else you feel like a sales manager, any other managers, I am recording this call, so they'll be able to go back and watch it as well.
Oh, okay.
I want to send
Sounds
that to
great.
Patrick.
So, if I guess we can go ahead and start, and Chris can pop in, and anything he misses,
Yeah.
maybe we can.
He just popped in.
Wonderful.
Chris
All right.
just got here.
Sweet. All right. So, Chris, obviously I'm Scott Brinkley, and what we're looking at going through today is explaining the maximum capacity HVAC model and how it affects your business. Because, once Jody looked at it, your business coach, it was a huge opportunity for your business. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain a few things, and then I'm going to open up my screen and let you see it. And Chris, so just so you know, I've already mentioned, but this call is recorded, so you don't have to take a bunch of notes, because I'm going to send y'all a link to the video and anything I share on my screen. So I tell you what, let me ask a few questions first of all. So Chris, do we track our, let's say all the calls we run in HVAC? I don't care if it's maintenance, demand, it really doesn't matter as long as it's not a warranty call or a finished job. Do we track our turnover percentage on those calls?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and can you give me an idea where we're running now?
Right now, on our turnovers, we're closing about an average of 50%.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. I want to know, do we have a turnover percentage? Not what we're closing on them from, are you saying from a comfort advisor, or are you saying that the calls you run, you're turning over 50%?
From the comfort advisor, 52.
Okay, so yeah, now what I want to know is if we run 100 calls in HVAC service, how many of those turn into a lead?
To be honest with you, I don't know what that number would be.
Okay.
We can get that.
No, that's okay, because most companies track that, and I'm going to tell you I don't even care if you track it, because I'm going down the road to tell you what you do need to track. So you do need to know what your tech turnover percentage is. But let me give an example. Let's say Jody and I are both technicians. So Jody runs 10 calls and I run 10 calls. So if I turn over one, right, that a comfort advisor gets out there, then I'm at 10%. Well, let's say Jody turned over one and she's at 10%. Well, the issue is, what happens if I actually ran, because you're in California, so we're going to use the age of 10. So what happens if of the 10 calls that I ran, let's say 5 of them were over 10 years old, and let's say of the 10 calls Jody ran, only one was over 10 years old. So therefore, Jody actually turned over 100% of her opportunities when I turned over 20% of my opportunities. So we look the same on the surface if you track it by all calls. But so one of your most important numbers that you're going to have to track as a service manager on the techs is how many opportunities did they run that turned over into a lead? Because again, it looked like Jody and I are doing the same, and she was actually doing 5 times better than me. Does that make sense?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So one of the things then you will have, and the dispatchers will have then from the service manager side is, so we're going to start tracking every single day. If we had, how many calls do we run there a day in total calls in HVAC?
An average of, contingent on our capacity, probably about an average of about 45.
Okay. So if we run 45, first of all, we're going to show you how the call center is going to identify of those 45 which ones are opportunities. And then every day, dispatch or yourself, somebody's got to track of those opportunities, who turned them over, and we're going to manage that by a percentage. So let me just start from the beginning then. So let's look at like this. So if y'all went to the mall, so let's just say, Dick, if you went to the mall and you set up a kiosk and 100 people walked by, or I don't care if it's 100, but however many people you had to talk to till you got 100 homeowners, right? So let's say, I don't know,
Right.
250 people walk by, but let's say you finally found 100 homeowners. Then if you've got the age of the systems, basically heat and air systems, if you say, well, how old is your heat and air system? Of those 100, do you have any idea in your area what that number would be? So would it be 20 of 100 would have a unit older than 10 years old? Would it be 50? Or do y'all have any idea?
No, you mean in the whole city of San Diego, what the percentage would be?
Yep. So of all single family homeowners that have, basically they own their own home, how many of them, what's the percentage of those that has a heating and air unit over 10 years old?
I would be guessing, but I'd say maybe 35%.
You're right on the money. Yep. I mean, it's right there at 34% in your area. So whether you did
How
your
did you
homework,
find that out?
how did I
How
find
did
that
you
out,
find?
or
Yeah.
how did he guess?
No. How did you? No. I mean, Scott. How did you? Where did you get that from?
Well, because Mary Jean, you're going to see when you do this as many shops as I do it. I mean, I know your area decently well. So let's just give you an example. You're going to start tracking this, and when you do, if you're nowhere near that, then I'm going to show you how your CSRs are missing the boat, and I'm going to give them the questions they need to ask to how to identify that. Because the most important number for you to track in your call center to beat the weather, meaning that you won't be a weather driven business anymore if you track this number. You will be a weathered enhanced business. There's a little bit difference there. So to give an example, in the call center, if we run 45 calls on today's schedule, right, have we identified all the ones that are over 10 years old? And so,
Yep.
all right, so is that Mark? You say yes?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so now here's my next question. How many is that? Can you look at today's schedule and tell how many that is?
Yes, I can. Hang on a second.
Okay.
I got to pull it up.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, we track that every day. That's how we do track the sales versus the opportunities
Okay.
and the
So,
turnover.
Hang on a second. Here, where is it? Trying to bring it up out of the Z drive.
no problem. So just so how many calls do you have on today, and of that, how many of them are turnover opportunities? While he's looking at it, go ahead.
I can tell you in the last couple of days, it was 20 yesterday.
15. I'll say average is 15.
Okay. So if you got 45 calls and you got 15, then that's right at 33%. So the point here is that you have to monitor this as a percentage. So let me go ahead and show you. I'm going to open my screen. Now, do y'all have a 3-day call board?
Yes.
All right. So just let me know when you can see my screen pop up.
It's there.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and say just for giggles here, let's just say you have 15 techs. And so you're going to run 45 calls. Let's say you actually have 45. Well, then the most important number to beat the weather is to you to make sure that this is above 33%. Because in y'all's area, organically, you're at 34%. So just to give an example, if that day ever drops below 33%, then we're not doing a good job in the call center of identifying that. And what is your average ticket on a replacement sale? Like, so what tech turns a lead over, they go out and sell a full system. What is that average ticket?
It's about $11,000.
Okay. So let me walk you through something. And Dick, you have a calculator?
I do.
All right. So when you master this
Scott?
max,
Oh,
yeah,
I
yeah.
just wanted to make sure you knew that San Diego, heat only heaters. Legally, you have to have a heater, but I don't know what the percentage of people, I mean, what the percentage is that really own an air conditioner. I know it's going to be a lot less.
Okay.
And our average ticket does drop in the winter. Does that matter in what you're doing?
Well, yeah, it will as far as the average ticket. So let me ask you this then. So in your market, how many people, I mean, of homeowners, how many of them have a heater? What percentage?
It would be 100%.
Okay. And so what do you think it is on air conditioners that already have one?
You know, you guys are in the field. Why don't, Chris, can you answer that?
I'd say about
I would say about 50. I would say about, but there's a lot of homes that don't have heating and air conditioning. So I would say about maybe 80% of everyone in San Diego has the
Okay.
heater.
Okay. But of the calls we're going to run, like when they call us, they're going to have one or the other. Of your
Yeah.
calls you run, do you think 50% have air already?
I would say so.
Okay. So then we are going to miss some opportunity there, which over the course of a year, it will drop our average ticket some. But so what is your average ticket now, regardless if it's a full system or not? What's your average ticket for the year?
I'm trying to pull all that information up, and for some reason my computer's not working.
Okay.
But it's right now, year to date, I think we're right at 12.8, or I mean not 12.8, 10.8, something like that.
Okay.
But
But is that on a full system or is that just your average ticket throughout the year?
That's the average ticket on turnover, and we sell that job. The average
Okay.
ticket is 10.8.
All right. So
Yeah.
let me walk you through what we're going to build here. Okay. So just to give an example,
Okay.
if we ran 45 calls, we're going to teach the call center to identify those 33%. Then they might already be doing a great job, but until we start to identify this as a percentage on your board, but so let's just say we have 15 calls, right? Of those 15
Right.
calls, I'm going to teach your technicians how to turn over 60% of those opportunities as a minimum. So go ahead and take your 15 times it by 0.6.
That's 9.
Okay, so I'm going to teach them how to generate 9 leads a day from turnovers as a minimum. How many are you
Okay.
getting? How many are you getting a day now?
Say anywhere from 4 to 5. 4 to 5.
Okay, so you see, we're going to at least get close to doubling it. And so again, this is the minimum I'm going to show you how to do. So now you got 60%, right? So then you go ahead and take that so those 9 leads. So do 9 times 0.66. So I'm going to show your comfort advisors how to close 66% of those. And that's going to get you how many sales?
That's going to get us right at 6 sales.
Okay, then do 6 times whatever your average ticket is.
That's going to be $64,800.
Okay, so this is what we're going to be looking for every day if you run 45 calls in a day. Obviously, if you run more, we're going to look for more because it just expands from that. Now, what is your current closure rate on turnovers now?
52%.
52, okay. The first metric there that we're going to focus on, because you might be going, well, how are we going to go from 52 to 66, right? So the first metric is we're going to make sure we have our scheduling done properly. Just to give you an example, I'm sure you probably don't know what is your average day it takes you to run a turnover. So to give an example, let's say you turn 10 over, you're going to run a lot of them the same day, some the next day, and some get scheduled out and some cancel, right? So,
Right.
so I will tell you this, and all my tracking shows me if we run our turnover leads the same day, right? I mean, we turn it over, run it the same day, we average 82% on those. But you can't run them all the same day. I wish we could. The next day, we average 66%. And then from the third day to an infinity, to whenever, right? I put those in a bucket. And believe it or not, we have a net closure rate of only 20% on those, because you all know the further we schedule it out, well, the less we close, but also the more that cancel. So our comfort advisors might only close at 30%, and yet we get a lot that cancel, which gives us a net of 20. So our main objective here is, once we teach the call center to identify these correctly, and if they're not there, I'm going to show you how to find them, but we want to then turn over 60%, and then we want to confirm that we're running the majority, like 90+% of our leads within 2 days, today or tomorrow. And by doing that, then let's say your closure rate goes to 60, so we're closer. Well, then I can work with comfort advisors on how to create urgency and how to close better if need be. Okay, does all this make sense so far?
Yes.
All right, so now let's look at this. Have you ever had, and since you don't track it, so let me go and tell you then, Mark, the most important number up here is your 33%. To give an example, let's say we walked into tomorrow's schedule, and let's say you got 45 calls on the board, and you've only identified 10. I mean, the call center's identified 10. So I'm telling you, you got 5 more, and you got to find them. So like, is there a call on the schedule today that does not have the age in it?
Say that again.
Is there a call on your
Is there a
schedule
call
that does not have the age
that
of the
doesn't
unit?
have an age?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sure there is.
Okay, so that's one rule. We can never have that happen. We have to get the age on every one. And you might say, well, how do we do that? Because if the customer doesn't know. So let me give you the follow-up question. So I'll give you an example. Customer calls in, let's say they book a call, and at the end of the call you say, now Mark, in order to send the most qualified technician, I need to ask you a few more questions. Okay. So how old is the heat and air system, or is it gas or electric? And let's say they say it's gas. All right, well, how old is it? And they say, I don't know, because a lot of customers are going to say they don't know. There's 2 follow-up questions we have to ask 100% of the time, and it is, well, how long have you lived in the home? Let's say they go, I don't know, I've been here, 10 years. Okay, have you replaced it since you've been there? No, I haven't. So now we've narrowed it down. We now know it's 10. Or let's say they go, I've been here 8 years. Well, have you replaced it since you've been there? No, I haven't. Now we know it's at least 8. Okay, so if it's at least 8, then I want you to judge. I want you to, mark it as an opportunity. I would rather send I'd rather send a technician who we're going to really train to turn these over at a ridiculous rate out, and it not be old, than to send a guy that's not trained and it be old. Because let me show you what one missed opportunity will cost you when you get this model down. So Dick, let's walk through this real quick. If we miss 1 call a day, right, meaning we don't identify the opportunity, the chances of it going to a guy when he's fully trained to turn them over is slim to none. You're now going to send that to a different guy, okay?
Right.
And so what happens is, let's just go ahead and do 1 times 260 work days. So you're going to miss 1 a day, which will be 260 for the year. Times that by 0.60, because that's how many we're going to convert into a lead.
Okay.
Times that by the closure rate of 0.66.
Okay.
Times that by your average ticket. What's that number? Probably $1 million at your average ticket.
Yeah, 1,111,968.
So when you get this model down, when I say this 33% is the most important number to beat, the weather, by far it is the most important number to beat the weather. Because when I teach these guys to do what they're going to do, this is done regardless of weather or not. So I want to tell you, you're going to be at 33% or higher in the spring, right? In the fall. Well, guess what happens in the summer? The older systems are the ones that break. So if like in this example, we're missing 5. So there's 3 areas the CSRs miss. One of them is they just take I don't know for an answer, right? We got to fix that.
Right.
and I'm going to give you the scripts on these, and again, you'll have the call. Well, the next area they miss, they take the customer's word for granted. So I'm a guy that tracked everything. When I said at the beginning, set up a kiosk in the mall, I did that. That's when I started writing all the sales presentations. I wanted to talk to people that were homeowners in an atmosphere different from their house to get this information. So now with that being said, when I say we take what they tell us for granted, let me tell you this. The number one answer when a customer doesn't know their age is I don't know. Guess what the number two answer is when the customer doesn't know their age of their heat and air unit?
I don't know.
I'm going to give it to you. It's 5 years. The customer,
5 years?
a person would rather guess and give you an answer than to step up to the plate and say they don't know for whatever reason. That's just humans. They don't want to act like they don't know. So I'm going to tell you those same questions that you asked when they said they didn't know, you have to ask those same 2 follow-up questions if they say 8 years and less. So, I can't tell you how many times this has happened. Customer calls in. He said, in order to send the most qualified guy, I need to ask you a few more questions. Is it gas or electric? It's gas. And you happen to know the age of the heat and air system. They go, I think it's about, 7 years old. You go, okay, appreciate that. And how long have you lived in the home? Well, I've been here about 12 years. Have you replaced it since you've been there? No, I haven't. That happens. That happens all the time. So anytime less than 8 years, so 7 or less, I want you to train the CSRs to ask those 2 follow-up questions. And you're going to get kickback from the CSRs. They're going to tell you this. They're going to say, Mark, it doesn't make sense. You want me to ask these 2 follow-up questions. One of them is, have they replaced it since they've been there? Sure they have. They told me that it's 5 years old. They don't know it's 5 years old. Because again, the number one answer the second answer is how long, how old is it? They're going to say 5 years. And then we get out there and it's 12 years old. So Chris, has that ever happened to you that you ran a call that we thought was only a few years old and you got out there and it was older?
Yeah, it does happen.
Yeah, it happens all the time. And the key metric to see how often it happens is paying attention to this 33%. So if I'm a call center manager and I walked in there and the board looked like this, 45 and 10, I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, let's stop what we're doing. We got at least 5 opportunities. And I'm telling you, you got 5 opportunities in the spring and fall. In the summer, it's going to be higher than that. I don't know your area for the summer, but it's probably closer to 50% of all calls will be opportunities. And that's just because the older ones break more. And so the same thing in the summer, if you don't have this process in place, you're going to be, missing calls. So what we have to do is, again, if this is 10, if we only had 10, I would say, all right, if I was a call center manager, I'd say, Mark, go ahead and do me a favor. I need you to go down to every call on the schedule that don't have as an age. I need you to do a follow-up call with that customer and ask the 2 follow-up questions. Let's narrow the age down. Anytime you find an error that a CSR made, bring it to me so I can sit down with them and fix it, right? And then, so we're going to audit them. Once we audit them, let's say we pick up 2. Because there is going to be a day that you audit them and you feel really good about it and you're still less than 33%. And that's okay because you will average 33, 34% in your area for the entire year, but you might have a day that's off. And that's okay because you're going to have some days that you're at 40. And I say it's okay once you audit it. It's still not okay to not have the 3 other opportunities on the board. So when you truly understand this 33%, all right, then Mark, let's say we audit them and we're missing 3. Well, now what we have to do is we either have to proactively go forward and pull some forward to get this to 15, right? We have to proactively get them somewhere, whether you pull them forward, whether you outbound, and because right now I'm going to tell you how you beat the weather is to keep this at 33 or higher. And how most people get their butts handed to them in the middle of spring and fall is they'll do outbounds on their maintenance calls of the new systems they ran. And then by doing that, they might only have 10% of their opportunities on the board. Therefore, they're going to sell less. To give an example, I run a contest every spring and fall that drives the call center to get this number up to around 50%. And by doing that, I had 5 companies this year in September, where September is their worst month historically. I had a lot of companies run the contest, a company-wide contest that ties in everybody from a controller to an inventory guy. And I had 5 companies though that hit the record month in September, when historically the record, or it's their worst month. And that is 100% by understanding this number. And you can change it. You can proactively change it. So you might, Mark, you might say, all right, Scott, well, all right, let's look at the board right now. Let's say we only have 12, and let's say tomorrow we got 20%, the next day you got 20%. So where are we going to get them from? So let me go and explain. Before I explain where I get them, any questions?
No.
Okay.
Everybody shake.
All right.
Looks good.
So let me go ahead and show you where I'm going to get them. Bear with me. I'm going to open just an Excel file. All right. So watch this. How many plumbers do we have? How many plumbers do we have?
21.
21. Do we truly know how many calls they're averaging a day? Each?
3. Yeah, 3. 3 a day.
Okay, I know we shoot for 3, but I'm going to say they average 2.5. Okay, I mean, we can put 3 there, but I know there's a point that your average ticket starts to drop some, and it's normally from 2 and 5. You'll get a better average ticket around 2.3 calls a day from a plumber. But all right, so look here. So let's say we're running this many calls a day, 63. So I'm going to ask you a question. When these plumbers close out these 63 calls a day, are they required to give us the age of the heating and air unit?
No, we're very poor at that.
Yeah.
Some guys do it, but most don't.
Okay, so let me tell you, you're in the same boat as 100% of the companies I talk to. Every one of them are terrible at it, and they'll have 1 or 2 guys that master it, and everybody else sucks. So I'm going to tell you how you do this process. Okay, I call this cherry picking, because watch this trick. If you run 63 calls a day, if you learn to identify those, you've got 21 opportunities of replacements every single day your plumbers touch. If this is not a biggest priority for you to figure out, I don't know what is. Because let's say, Mark, that we only have 12 opportunities tomorrow, and we need 3 more. Because if not, we're going to be a prisoner of the weather. And we don't want that to happen. I want you to stay above 33. So when you learn that you can identify in your business, there's 21 opportunities a day, I'm going to show you how to find very easily. Well, when you do, now you've got people you can pull from. I call this an HVAC cherry pick book. So here's what would happen is every day you should be able to, your dispatcher should be able, once they identify these 21, at my shops, we just print them out and we put them in a book. And then every day the call center manager needs some, he goes to this cherry pick book and he picks it up and he just starts plucking them off one by one. And I'm going to give you the scripts to book these, because this call that we're doing now is normally a 2-hour call. So I'm going to try to cover as much as I can in an hour. And then whatever I can't cover, I'll either send you scripts or videos on it. So now, because you have 21 a day, so let me ask you this. So Chris, in the middle of summer, are you going to need these 21 opportunities a day, or do you think they'll organically be there? Because I already let you know more older ones break in the middle of summer, right?
It's going to organically be there.
Yes, it's going to be that way in the summer and the winter. So the key to that is, let's just say you have a 4-month summer, okay? So you're going to have 21 a day, and let's just say each month has 21 days in it, right? And then let's say we have 4 months. So watch this. Son of a bitch, hit the wrong number. So in the summer months, you're not going to need these. So look at what your cherry pick book just grew to. Over a period of 4 months, when you master this process, you've now identified almost 1,750 people that need new systems. So guess what happens when your worst, let's say your worst month in September or your worst months in March. It's going to be the same. You're going to identify these in the winter. So when March gets here, I then can show you how to roll out that monthly wide contest, and you got a lot of people here to pull from to proactively get that number above 50%. Does that make sense?
Complete sense.
And it is a proven fact, the more opportunities you have, obviously the more you're going to sell regardless. So the key to this is, so just to tell Mary Jean, so this makes you feel good about the process. At my shops, right, we tracked everything. And so when we sold a unit and our installers went out and took it out and brought it in, well, they had to turn it in because that unit was worth money. And I had recycle facilities. So what happened is they turned it in. The recycle manager made them sign off the job name, the customer number. And then the most important thing for me was the system running, or was this a proactive replacement? Meaning, did they replace it for any other reason than it being broken? And when I definitely figured I had this process mastered, I'll go ahead and tell you this, 85% of the units we replaced were proactive replacements. And so this is why you're going to have so much upside, because right now you probably have a very small percentage of proactive replacements, meaning that they have something, they either have something wrong to them. And this is why when we do this process, right, you're going to learn to beat the weather, but the technicians are the key to me showing them how to set up the proactive replacement. And then what we do is we let the comfort advisors run a month or so. And if their closure rate's not 66% at that time, then I can actually show them how to create urgency on a proactive replacement. But
quick question, slightly related. Did you have an individual employee who was like a statistician who did all these stats for you and turned them in daily, or did each department manager responsible for specific stats?
So each manager is going to be responsible for what they're supposed to, and I'm going to give you everything you need to track this. So,
okay.
You're going to get everything you need. Now back to Chris, you might say, well, we didn't do a good job. So, all right, so we know these opportunities are there. So how do we identify them? So let me go ahead and tell you, each business has a cycle that you create or you build behaviors on. Like, I don't know if y'all have ever seen the movie Sandra Bullock. It's called 28 Days, where she goes to rehab. So think of it like this. She goes to rehab for 28 days because it takes 28 days to make or create a new habit. And so in this business, you can't try to teach somebody something for 28 days straight, because there's weekends involved and that breaks it up. There's a lot of issues with trying to train people. So you have to really understand what is their cycle. So just to let you know, a service manager is still on a daily cycle. So if I'm trying to teach my service manager something, I'm just going to work with him daily. A technician is a call cycle. That means if I work with a technician before and after a call, maximum 28 calls, he'll have it mastered. But if I work with him today and go over something with him and follow him up with him next week, it'll take months and months, and he still may never master it. So a dispatcher is a call cycle. A CSR is an hourly cycle, meaning that they got so much crap going on in the call center. If you try to train a CSR on something and once a week, they'll never get it, or they'll barely get it. So since this is a dispatcher that holds this piece accountable or tracks it, here's the way it works. Chris, you have a meeting with all the techs and you say, look, our HVAC guys, or I'm sorry, you say our plumbers are going to start. Oh, so here's a question too. We do the same thing here. Our plumbers, when they close out, are going to give me the age or the idea of the age of the unit. We're going to train our HVAC guys to give us the age of the water heater on every single call. We're going to build a cherry book from there, and that's going to start to set up the plumbing max capacity model. Okay, so you're going to meet whoever the plumbing manager is going to meet with the plumbing techs, and go, hey, just to let you know, Chris in the HVAC department has put a new policy in place. They're going to start to give us the age of the water heaters. So every time they run a call, when they close out, they're going to give us the age of a water heater. And then y'all are going to build that database, right? And then anytime you need more revenue, or when you roll out the max capacity model on the plumbing side, I'll show you how to pick up a hell of a lot of tankless water heaters very rapidly. But so you have, the plumber has to let his guys know, look, they're going to take care of us, but we have to take care of them. So in my history, I tried to get my guys to give me the age of the heat and air unit, all my plumbers. And as you mentioned, one or two might do it, and everybody else is terrible at it. So the more I tried to get the age, the worse we were at it. I gave spiffs. I still couldn't get them to do it. I had them take pictures of pictures of the plates, threaten them with their lives. Still couldn't get them to do it. And so you know what? I thought the harder you make it, the least they want to do it. But not only that, they want to be paid to do it. So I had an idea one day, and the idea was this. In the plumbing meeting, I said, can you look at a heating and air unit, and can you just give me an idea if you think it's above 8 years old or not? And the majority of them said, sure. And I said, so what I want you to do on the call, I just want you to glance at the furnace or the AC, either one, and give me your opinion if it's older than 8 or not. And then if it is older than 8, meaning we'll basically consider that an opportunity and take the risk. And so you have to manage that as a percentage on an hourly, if not bi-hourly basis until it's a habit. So who does the dispatcher report to?
The dispatch manager.
Okay, so that person would do this. Just say I'm the dispatch manager, and let's just say, Dick, you're the dispatcher of the plumbers. So I go over there and I say, hey, Dick, how you doing? Good. How many plumbing calls have you closed out in the last 3 hours? Let's just say you said 10. I would say, okay, show me the 3 of them that you identified as opportunities. Let's say you had 1. I'm gonna go, okay, and I'm gonna say, look, now we know there's 3 out there, so who's not giving them to you? And I'm gonna come in, if not hourly, for the first few days, and then I'll go to bi-hourly, and I'm gonna basically start holding you accountable in the way the dispatcher learns, which is a call basis. Because they're going to do this, they're going to close out a call and they're just going to send them their next one and not get the information. So I first got to train the dispatcher. They have to get this information. So I'm going to come in there every few hours. How many calls have you ran? And if they say they've closed out 20, I'm going to say, show me the 7 opportunities that you've identified and put in your cherry pick book. If they are at 7, I'm going to walk away and I'm going to see them again. Once they master the process, I'm still going to check on this number every single day for the rest of my life, right? But I'm not going to do it hourly. But initially, I'm going to do it hourly to bi-hourly to half a day to day until they get the habit created. Well, what you're going to see is you're going to come over and they're going to go, well, I've got calls, didn't identify any. I'm going to walk straight into the plumbing manager and go, look, you closed out, 10 calls in the last hour. Your people told me they were going to do it, and they're not. So I need you to call these techs that closed out and just get on them. He's going to get on them. Go, look, you told me you'd do it. Just do it. And then he's going to basically manage them every time the dispatcher comes to him and says, I'm not getting them. I'm not getting them. Once you do this process, right, and you master it, you're going to always have 1 or 2 guys that's going to suck at it. And for whatever reason, you're not going to get 100% of them. But the goal is let's get the whole shop closing 33%. If not, we have to break it down and see who's not doing it. So y'all saw at Super Meeting stage, I had Josh up on the stage. And so Josh rolled this process out. And I saw him. He rolled it out last Super Meeting. I saw him at Leadership Spotlight. And I said, hey, Josh, so, and where it's just like anything else, he's growing, but he should have grown a hell of a lot more than he has. So I said, Josh, how's cherry picking going? He said, good. I said, what does good mean? And he goes, well, we're doing it. I said, okay, well, I'll be the judge of that. So Josh has 16 plumbers running 3 calls a day. It's 54 calls, right? So he should be, he was doing 48 calls. He should be getting roughly 16 opportunities a day. And I said, all right, so how long have you been doing it now? And he said, it's been close to 4 to 5 months. I said, okay. How many do you have? Cherry pick books. He goes, I don't know. And he goes, what we've been doing is just dispatcher closes. I said, so you're telling me you didn't put in the hourly process to hold them accountable? He goes, no, I don't think we have to do that. I said, well, if you just take all the crap I got in my head, just throw it out the damn window. You have to do it because you have to create their habit. And I said, so go ahead and call your office. So he called their office. This is from Leadership Spotlight. I'm sorry, this is from Super Meeting. We wrote it out, Leadership Spotlight. I said, so as good as you're doing, call your office and tell me, how many cherry picks have you gotten in 4 months? Are you ready for this? 84. Where he should be getting 16 a day, he gets 84 in 4 months. That's how important it is when you roll this out, that you're in there every hour, then you go to every 2 hours, every 4 hours, and every day. And once you do that, you'll get it. Do y'all know who Whitney with Pipe Wrench Plumbing is?
No.
Okay, so she was given to me 2 years ago in February. Well, it had been February 16. Our first call, she said, Scott, I just got off the phone with the marketing coaches. I need to know how many calls I need to keep my one tech busy and my one installer busy. How much money I need to market. And I said, well, you just got an HVAC? She said, no, I've been doing it for 5 years. I said, you were doing this 5 years and you got one tech. What the hell you been doing? Sleeping? And now she has 18 plumbers. So when I found that out, I said, turn your marketing off. Shit, if a broken unit comes in and it's less than 7 years old, I wouldn't even run it. And she said, what are you talking about? I said, you have 18 calls a day that you could pick up. And so we put this process in. I gave her the scripts to book these tune-ups, basically on these opportunities, same way, that you're going to have them. And so 2 weeks later, she called me and says, hey, I want you to know we've done pretty well. And I said, what does that mean? How many of you ran? She said, we ran 20 calls. I said, great. You ran 20 calls this week with no marketing. That's good. Of the 20, how many were above the age of 8? Because she's got a lot of heat pumps there. We use 8 instead of 10. And she said, well, 19 of them were. I said, wonderful. What were your sales? She said, 36,000. I said, okay, so you went from doing 20 grand in a month to 36,000 in a week. I said, now you got a new problem. She said, what's that? I said, who the hell's going to put them in? You got one installer. Now you're going to have the tech go do. So just to let you know, she put on install crews, and now they're doing roughly around 400,000 a month in HVAC. It's been a year and a half, go from nothing to 400 grand. That's how important this process is. Any questions on that and how you hold it accountable?
Nope.
Okay, so now that we master that, right? So let's go back to the other screen. Let me find it here. All right, so again, if we needed 3 more, well, where am I going to get them, Mark? I'm just going to pull the cherry pick book and I'm going to call. Surely when you got that book, you can pick up 3 opportunities. I would rather you run 3 tune-ups this day. The order of calls, I would rather you run a 10-year-old unit, no matter what they called in for, right, first, before you run a 3-year-old broken system. You have to get these 10-year-old units first, because if we had, let's say we had 45 calls today and they were all 100% broken, but if they were all 2 years old, are we going to sell any new units tomorrow?
Probably not.
Yeah, there's no probably to it. We're not going to sell any. That's how important this number is, that we get these 15 every single day. Hell or high water, we find them. Now, again, we don't have long left, so I'm trying to think what's best to cover, or I can't just open it for questions at this point. I think I've given a really stressed how important this number is. If you want to beat the weather, that's the number. If you want to have your biggest spring month or biggest fall month you ever had, you get this number near 50%, and you will. That's why we have such big fluctuations, because you're going to see in the middle of summer or the middle of winter, that number is going to be 50% anyway, or really close to it. So what questions do you have? Because we only got about 10 minutes left.
Any questions? when you've implemented this in other companies, what's the biggest challenge you've experienced, would you say?
Well, the CSRs are going to give you grief about asking questions and getting, well, why are they going to give me the age? They called it, and so you're going to get some grief from them. Just believe me, at my shops, hell, if somebody called in for a plumbing call, we got the age of the heat and air unit. So it's all about the scripting. Now, I'm not telling you to do that. Please don't, because you got to have a great script, to get the age of the heat and air. But I'm just saying, your CSRs are going to give you grief, and then the call center manager, you're going to hear me say the number one most important position in the business to control the weather or to beat the weather is call center manager, because they're in charge of this board. Once they master this board, the most important position, the second one, is the sales lead coordinator, because they're going to facilitate those 6 leads or those 9 leads every day. Sorry, so at your shop, we're going to have 15. Well, somebody's got to facilitate getting 60% of these turned into a lead. And that's it. Do you have a sales lead coordinator?
We don't. That's what I was just going to ask about that. So our sales lead coordinator, we have a sales lead that does the bookings of the call. But Dick, we don't have anybody. Our CSRs do that, right?
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tyler decides kind of who's going where to what call.
All right. So think of it like this. Think of it like this. The sales lead coordinator is the call center manager, the CSR, and the dispatcher of the salespeople. That person does all 3 of those functions. And what I'm telling you is, if you got 45 calls on the board, then you have 9 turnovers there. And if you don't make one person responsible for finding those 9 turnovers, you're not going to get them, because this one person has a huge duty. Basically, you're going to give them a sales plan at the beginning of the month, and it's going to say, we need to run 200 leads or whatever it is, 200 turnovers, and then it breaks them down to a day. This person facilitates that entire process. Now, they don't book they don't book the calls. The CSRs book the service call or the maintenance call. This person reaches out to those turnover techs religiously and says, hey, Dick, I see you're headed to a turnover opportunity. When you get this thing turned over, let me know. I have Mark available to run it today. And then if they don't get it turned over, the service manager, Chris, obviously, I can do a call with you and show, how do you hold those guys accountable? And that's what we're going to have to do on that tech call. So I'm just telling you, this is the second most important position. I would rather lose my sales manager. I'd rather lose my accountant, than my sales lead coordinator once this process is running. At first, y'all are going to be like every other company I've rolled this out in. They're going to feel that they don't need this position. But once they figure it out, they're going to see they'd never want to lose this position. So I'm going to tell you, you're going to need one, because you got to have somebody that you can walk to and say, where are these 9? And somebody has to own it.
Wow, Dick. Glad we haven't closed our budget out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like this person probably makes $18. They get paid about the same what a dispatcher gets paid, whatever that dollar is there.
Well, and when all of this begins to start happening, you're going to create the revenue to pay for it.
Oh, by means, you look, when you get 9 turnovers a day versus what are you getting now, 4 or 5? Holy crap! You're going to see, well, I need comfort advisors. You're going to see you're way understaffed. That's why I staff my shops on the leads I'm supposed to have, not on what leads I have. And that way you can truly manage your business and start managing people through their strengths instead of being held captive to them. But let's see if we only got 6 minutes left. Let me make sure, see if there's anything else that would be really beneficial. Oh, I know something. So imagine this, Chris, now that you see, once the call center gets 33% of all their people identified, or 32% of all the calls identified as turnovers, right? Well, we want to get our technicians, if you've got, let's just say, however many techs you said you have with tune-up techs, because I don't call them tune-up techs. I have junior techs and I have techs, and this way I can, I don't want to send tune-up guys home and I send a technician to a tune-up and he's like, why am I running these while he's at home? So I just got junior and senior techs, and then I decide, or my dispatcher decides who runs them. But with that being said, you got to get minimum 33% of your technicians to master this process, to a maximum of probably 43% master it. And then the other guys, they don't even get the opportunity. So when you first roll this out, you let every tech have the opportunity. You track it about a month, and then when you see the ones that truly own what I'm going to show them, you're going to see those are turning over 60, 70, 80% of their opportunities are going to get turned over. And you're going to have some that turn over 20, 30%. You now never dispatch the 20 or 30% ever again, unless it's on accident and it's one that slips through the crack. Because here's what happened. If you try to train, and take this from me, I tried to train all my techs to turn over properly. Let's say that you are successful and you do that, you will then lose a lot of techs because you don't have enough food to feed them. You only have enough food to feed 33% of the turnovers, if that makes sense. Because once a guy masters it, and if he can run 3 calls a day, you're going to make sure every call he runs is an opportunity. That's how he gets good. He doesn't get good by running a call that's an opportunity and then running a 2-year-old, and then running a call that's an opportunity and running a 3-year-old. He'll get very inconsistent, is what he'll get. So once he masters it, we just want to keep him on the old ones, right? Does that make sense?
Complete sense.
So the easiest way I don't know if it's easy, but here's the way I've always explained this. If we had 3 people in a room and we got 3 tickets to go bowling every day, basically 3 games a day, we could give 1 game to every single person, and every single person would get better. But if you gave 3 games to 1 guy every single day, he's going to become a champ overnight. Because this is all his focus is. His focus is to generate a lead. So I'm going to give you a tracker that Chris, dispatch normally does it, or the service manager at your size shops, it'd be dispatcher's duty. But what they're going to do is they're going to put this tracker, and just to show you, I'll bring it up real quick and show it to you. And I think, Jody, what we need to do is our next call, whatever it was, Wednesday.
Right.
This is a lot of information, and I ain't even got started. So we need to maybe have that call, same people, whoever they want to bring in besides the fact, and then we just answer questions, get through, because obviously they got to absorb this, and then maybe answer questions, and then we'll talk about that tech call as well. But let me pull up real quick the tracker and let you see that. All righty. Next door, pause. So here's what this does, this tracker. So every single day, I'll wait till it pops up here. All right, so every single day, you put your text in here. There's a video tutorial that walks you through it down here. But every single day, they put in there how many opportunities they ran. So dispatch closes out. They have to keep up with this, and service manager together, they just looked and said, of those 15 opportunities, who got what? So let's say that you assign those to who they ran. Did they turn a unit over, right? If it turned over, then the next thing was the turnover ran, and it doesn't have to be the same day. This could be turnovers from 3 days ago, but how many turnovers did they have ran that were theirs? Of those, how many sold, and what was the dollar amount? And so normally these 3 columns, this turnovers ran, sales, and and the dollar amount, normally that's something that the sales lead coordinator enters in, and these first 2 columns are entered in by the dispatcher and or service manager. Well, what this does, it starts building this database here, and if you look, this is a True Shops numbers. This is Mark Pressgrave, I think it is. Is that his name with that I'm working with, Bill, Jim's guy?
Yeah.
All right, so if you look, this guy had 59 turnover opportunities. He's turning over 25%. He's got a 13% cancellation rate, which anytime, I don't really stress until it gets above 20. His comfort advisors are closing 31% on his. Here's his sales. But if you look over here to the right, this thing starts to take information and tell you who to dispatch. Like this guy here, Eric, look, every time he's sent to a turnover, he's averaging $3,500 that he's bringing in for the company. And so even though Mark, this is his second month of tracking this, look at his revenue. He still had a record month. in turnovers. They doubled what they were doing before I talked to them and before Jim rode this out with them. But they still missed 253 grand. Because if you look, this guy here, let's see here, at 59, let's look at the lowest guy. He's pretty damn
I'm
low.
not sure why I'm not seeing the screen. That's weird. Are you all seeing the screen?
I am.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a
Well, I'm
light
gonna
down here.
I'm gonna
Okay,
send
go ahead.
I'm gonna
Continue on.
send
Sorry.
I'm gonna send you this, and it's got a video tutorial that walks you through and how you do it. But if you look, like here's something that makes you sick. Let's see here. Scroll over. I guess I could. Here, let me make it a little bit smaller so I ain't got to scroll over. All right. So this guy here that's averaging $3,500 every time he's dispatched to a turnover opportunity, they're generating $3,500. Look at this. He's turning over 79%, and they've only given him 14 opportunities. This guy has been to 59, and he's only got 15, and they just fed him with them. They probably thought he was the best, just based off of history. So this thing again, now you can't see it because they show X's right now, but it's going to have you starting off where everybody should be dispatched. Once you start tracking this and it gets about 5 days of history, and it's going to start throwing these marks. The one that's got arrows, any green, keep feeding them. If it's any ones that are going like any of the yellows, keep feeding them. If they get an X, stop feeding them. And by doing that, if they would have stopped feeding this guy, if you go back and look at his, look, he had 3 on the first, didn't get anything. 4 on the second, didn't get anything. Look here, 4 got 1, 3 got 0, 4, they get any of that? No, they should have stopped feeding him. Now, all I'm going to tell you is pay attention to these. Now, this is their first month of using this, or second month, whatever. Pay attention to these. It will tell you, and these are it's based on average and a trend. So imagine this, Chris, if you got into a fight with your wife, would that negatively affect you at work?
Yes.
Of course it would. Your dispatcher, it won't really pick up on that as much as this program will. I built it so it tells you who to send every damn day. Right? So I'll send you this. I'm going to get your video converted over. Send it. Everybody on the call will have access to it. If somebody else wants to watch it, you'll have to give me their email address to add them to it. And then we got another call coming up on Wednesday. So just get as much information as you can. Ask any questions you got, during that call, and we'll just take that call and shoot from the hip and just see where we go from there.
So to repeat what I heard, Scott, you want everybody that is on the call today on the call again on Wednesday. And
Yes.
then the third call, who do you want on the call?
Well, all techs need to be on the call. Technicians, your dispatchers want to be on that call. Your sales manager, service manager, GM. Obviously, we want anybody on that call. I'm going to show you what the techs do. Now, this is normally something that takes me 2 hours to teach. So I'm going to try to do my best to facilitate that in an hour, which I can. I just want to make sure that I don't leave any confusion on the table when we're done. And then what's going to happen is after that call, because call center needs to go ahead and start implementing, put the 33% or put the percentages on the board. I'm going to send you the scripts where they mess up, and then obviously anybody you want on Wednesday's call to be on that call. Anybody else that wasn't on this call. But if you bring somebody on to Wednesday's call, make them watch this video first. I don't want to get, bogged down with questions that we'd already covered.
Right. I have a real quick question for you, Scott.
Yeah.
Does the way you pay, like on turnovers, does that change with this program, or we pay like?
Yeah. How do you pay first of all? And I'll tell you if it's good and we leave it or we change it.
Okay. Right now, it's turned to the project manager who sells it. Mm-hmm. The person who turned it gets 3%. The person who sold it gets 7%.
Okay. So first of all, the guy who sells it, I'd rather put that on profitability pay him on the net profitability of the job. Maybe give him a range from say, maybe 4 to 8 or 2 to 8, something like that, but pay off the profitability. Because if you just pay off of gross sales, you'll get gross sales. When they discount, it only hurts Mary Jean. Doesn't hurt you. It didn't hurt them. So that's what I'd recommend there, which I can go over that with you. But then your technicians, so if you pay them 3%, keep paying them 3%. But do you remember me saying that you got to close minimum 66%? So with that being
Right.
said, we need the technician to facilitate when that lead's ran. Most shops think the customer controls that, and I'm going to tell you they don't. The person that controls that is the technician. And when you start paying him to do that, you'll see that. So if you pay him 3 now, I would give him 3%. If the lead runs today or tomorrow in sales, he gets 3%. If it runs after tomorrow, I would cut it down to 1%. And you will now see you will see all your leads ran today or tomorrow. And by doing that,
Okay.
you'll automatically raise your closure rate from the 52% you're at into the mid 60s just by making that pay change.
Okay. Cool.
All right, so I have to go. Jody, I know you have to go too. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time and walking us through all of your wondrous experience, because I know that you've been doing this for a lot of years, so you bring a lot of experience to the table with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Great
Scott.
stuff.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. I'll get
Thank
this
you.
converted to a video and get it sent out to everybody. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Scott.